is dragging its feet over granting more important dollars for the Ukrainian war effort. If that money doesn't come, what do you fear will happen?
Well, it's a very complicated situation. Yes, really. We do need aid desperately. In simple terms, we cannot get tired of the situation, because otherwise we will die. And if the world gets tired, they will simply let us die. And given what is happening, this danger that the aid will slow down constitutes a mortal danger to us. For this reason, it cannot but scare us, it cannot support us, and we need any kind of support, even moral.
In my previous video, which I consider a must-see as this war approaches its end game, I spoke about the three major battles of the Ukraine war, and that Avdiivka could be the last battle if Ukraine is defeated. And based on the updates I have today, it seems as if the defeat is coming sooner rather than later. But today I want to focus on an important brigade that the West is hyping up as Ukraine's best brigade for their last stand at Avdiivka. Interestingly, it is one of Ukraine's most equipped brigades and one of its few brigades that has fought in each of the major battles: Bakhmut, the Zaporizhia offensive, and now Avdiivka. Originally commanded by Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Sak, he was removed in September of this year for unknown reasons, but rumor has it that his dismissal was connected to the brigade's poor performance on the battlefield. New commander, also named Alexander, but with last name Pavili, also had a very rough start. The fighters of the brigade claimed that he failed to understand the brigade's structure.
Retarded.
According to militaryland.net, the brigade's command refused to admit that the brigade lost its offensive potential during the heralded summer blitzkrieg attempt towards no man's land, the Sea of Azov. By the time November arrived, the 47th Mechanized Brigade had maybe 17 Leopard 2A6s left, which Forbes magazine described as an endangered species. Don't tell that to the brigade's tank battalion, who are just as aggressive right now as they've been at any point during the brigade's 5-month first rotation, which began in June this year when they led one of the initial but disastrous assaults, kicking off Kiev's long-awaited southern counteroffensive. After 4 months of banging their heads against a Russian wall of steel, the brigade was redeployed to eastern Donetsk to reinforce the garrison of Avdiivka. Exact figures are difficult to obtain, but it is estimated that the 47th Brigade has around 100 American M2 Infantry Fighting Vehicles.
Американська бойова машина піхоти Bradley M2A2 в модифікації ОДС-СА і тут на Авдіївському напрямку від...
And maybe 18 surviving Leopard 2A6s. The brigade arrived in the vulnerable northern flank of Avdiivka and promptly lost a Leopard 2, and you have to love how Western media likes to frame this: a lucky shot by a brave Russian infantryman firing a rocket-propelled grenade at the tank's thinly armored side. And here's a video of the Leopard being hit, and the jubilation from the Russian drone operators viewing the battle was so excited that he nearly lost his voice in celebration.
Подорвался, походу. Да! Танк, походу, с РПГ въебали!
Пехота там есть?
Пехоты не вижу.
Поднимать наших? Все, наших поднимать?
Пчела, куда надо кинуть, скажи.
Отдали чуть-чуть. Где Русич?
Угол! Западнее
горит,
угла 20
горит.
метров!
Пала горит.
Леопардов ебали! Леопарду пиздец!
Снимаю, все заснял, пчела. Да вылазят пидоры! Вылазят пидоры!
Что, ебали?
Да, с первого вылазят пидоры!
Ебали с первого раза! Ура!
Это север въебал его.
Пчела, не рви горло, пчела.
Горит,
Он
пидор!
меня заебал, пидорас, он горит!
Despite its acclaim and relentless aggression, the 47th Brigade is perhaps running out of steam. By December 9th, the latest reports describe the brigade's gunners as being starved of ammunition and were unable to hit the Russian convoy before it was upon their infantry on Avdiivka's northern flank. This is supported by the pictures we see of units from the 47th Brigade setting up their, what I call, GoFundMe petitions, impressively, in English, to its Western backers, asking them not to reduce the support. 5 armored vehicles rolled into the village of Stepovi, guns firing, allowing 40 Russian soldiers to run for cover in the houses around Ukrainian positions. A Bradley fighting vehicle was deployed toward the Russians. The fierce battle was described as part of a desperate action to save Avdiivka from, and these are not my words, imminent collapse, and prevent a victory for Russia's President Vladimir Putin. The 47th Brigade is at the center of Ukraine's defense, particularly on Avdiivka's northern flank. The brigade was withdrawn from the Zaporizhia offensive in October after making only 10 kilometers and being mauled by Russian bombing, minefields and Lancet drones. With great equipment comes great responsibilities, remarked Sergeant Danlio, nicknamed Sausage. As I mentioned in my previous video, this war is at a pivotal moment, as the loss of Avdiivka would mean Ukrainian forces will have to fall back to the reservoirs of Kharkivka and the heights of Ocheretyn. Kharkivka supplies water to the remaining Ukrainian-held territories in the Donbass, and any battle there would severely disrupt its flow. Further, should Russia seize the heights of Ocheretyn, which is about 3.5 kilometers away, it will allow the Russians to begin razing Myrnohad, a city of 50,000 inhabitants. More than that, the Russians would be able to run on to Dnipropetrovsk, a region with a population of about 1 million, and then sweep north towards Kiev, cutting off Ukraine's army in the Donbass. Holding Avdiivka is also key for morale, its defense being a tribute to the thousands of soldiers who died there since 2014. Avdiivka is a dagger at the throat of the Russian-occupied city of Donetsk, which is central to any future Ukrainian counteroffensive to recover the wider Donbass region. Therefore, committing Ukraine's best brigade to this battle is a testament to the importance, but as it stands, they barely cling on as the supply and medical evacuation vehicles run through heavy artillery fire for the last 22 kilometers of their route. Mr. Sausage described it as a shitty situation as they experience shell shortages.
Plus munitions, why now?
We've run out of ammunition.
Taras Fizrock, a 31-year-old mortar gunner, said this: "We had 10 times more ammunition over summer and better quality. American rounds come in batches of almost identical weights, which makes it easier to correct fire with very few duds. Now we have shells from all over the world with different qualities, and we only get 15 for 3 days. Last week we got a batch full of duds. Instead of firing as Russians as soon as they come within range, the sergeant said they have to wait to be sure they are heading for their position and only hit large groups. He said that we should be controlling our sector 4 kilometers away so we can kill a few hundred Russian soldiers before they get to our infantry, and we only take a few wounded, but without ammunition we simply can't. When it's 2 or 3 soldiers, I am not shooting any more," he said. "Only when it's a critical situation, say 10 guys close to our infantry, we will work." Both soldiers say the brigade is not getting enough equipment. Anticipating their Western allies becoming distracted by the crisis in the Middle East, they have fundraisers for those items they can buy, but much of it is held up at the border by a blockade of Polish truckers disgruntled that Ukrainian drivers are cutting their wages in Europe.
Day 650 of Russia's war against Ukraine. The operation went very well last night. I am fine and I am good, and I'm back up and fighting, as you can imagine. However, there is a problem. I need a particular kind of splint which will fix my leg absolutely straight for 6 weeks, so I can my torn ligament on my patella can recover. And this hospital, which is one of the very best in Kyiv, has run out of these splints because of the blockade by Polish truckers on the Polish-Ukrainian border. So this is happening to me, a relatively wealthy British journalist, a foreigner, who's written a bestseller about Vladimir Putin. If this is happening to me, then it's happening across Ukraine to all sorts of people in all sorts of hospitals. And I want to say to these Polish truckers, fuck you.
For these reasons and more, Ukraine is only on the defensive. The railway that runs through the village of Stepove marks the northern flank of Avdiivka's last line of defense. Vitaly Barabash, head of Avdiivka's military administration, made an ominous description of the fighting in the city. He said that the town changes not by the day, but by the hour. In the morning, you drive past a damaged building, then the bombs fall, and when you leave in the evening, it is gone.